Hi and welcome to Piano TV. Today we are going to expand on our knowledge of the key of F, or music based on F scale. If you're unfamiliar with F scale and the key of F, be sure to check out the previous video linked somewhere around here, and that'll really help this video make more sense. So we're going to look at the three major chords in, like the three main chords. I guess they're also major, but they're main too, in F major. And we're going to learn this all in a piece called Brahms' Lullaby, which you probably know. If you don't know, you've been living under a rock. So let's get started. So Johannes Brahms was a Romantic era composer who looked like Santa Claus. So there's that. He wrote this piece called Brahms' Lullaby. He didn't name it after himself. It was named Good Morning, Good Night or something like that. And then, people just attach their own names to things. And this was one of those cases. So if you don't recognize Brahms' Lullaby by the title, then you'll almost definitely recognize it by the sound. It was written in 1868. So just for some perspective, it's old. As you might recall from a previous video that we did on chords, which we will link to so you can see what I'm talking about, there are three really important chords in every key or in every song based on a scale. So what I've written out right here is F major scale. So there are going to be three crucial chords. If you could see me, I'm like gesturing three. You can't see my hand though. It's pointless. Anyway, there are three really important chords in every key. So if you remember, that's the first chord, which is F, the fourth chord, which in this scale is B flat major chord, and then the fifth chord. So in this song that we're doing today, Brahms' Lullaby, we're going to be using the 7 version of C major chord. So we're going to do C7 instead of just a regular C chord. Now we're going to look at the easiest way to play these chords without having to hop around the piano in wide leaps to play them. So we're going to look at our F major chord, which is F, A, and C. So that's what we're going to do for our F major chord. And the easiest way, so our B flat major chord, the notes of that are B flat, D, and F. But jumping up from F, A, C to B flat, D, F is a big leap. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this common note that these two chords have in common. And we're going to rearrange the order of this a little bit. So we're going to put F on the bottom instead for the B flat chord. And then for our C7, what we're going to do is, just to simplify a little bit, we're going to make this a 3-note chord instead of a 4-note chord. So we're going to do something like this. So you see that these two chords have B flat in common and these two chords have F in common. So when we invert chords and move them around, it's just easiest to keep them as close together as you can, because then you don't have to fly your hands around as much. So this is what our basic F chord looks like. So just that standard formation that I wrote down. So F, A, and C. And now for our B flat chord, we can keep our F in the same spot and play B flat, D. And that's a way easier transition than trying to go like this. And it actually sounds better too, I think. And the last chord that we'll look at, so we have F, B flat, and then we need C7. So we keep the B flat in common, so we can use that as a pivot note. And then E and C, and that's our C7. So F chord, B flat major, C7. So just taking a look at the music for Brahms' Lullaby here, you'll notice that our chords, instead of being blocked, they're actually in broken form this time, but you'll still be able to recognize them as the chords we were talking about. So if you look at this first one, it's an F chord because the notes in the left hand, the harmony F, A, and C. And that continues on until we get here where we got E, B flat, C, which are the notes of our C7 chord, again, just kind of in broken form. And a little bit down the ways here, we got our B flat major chord hanging out. Not as many of these ones, but they are in the piece. So it's kind of nice to know the chords before you go into this song, because then you can kind of just glance at the left hand and be able to figure it out pretty fast. So before we even get into the melody and all the right hand stuff, let's first try out this left hand pattern to familiarize ourselves with it on the piano first. So I'm just gonna play the first line or two of the left hand just so you can get a feel for it. Sound like much on its own. It needs the melody to get shape. Okay, so now let's take a look at the right hand here. So what you'll notice is there's a lot of notes that are doubled up here, and they're almost always going to be the interval of a third, or over here you have the interval of a sixth. Anytime you see them doubled up, with the exception I think of like one or two parts in the song, they're always going to be thirds and sixths. And so just a little harmony secret here, whenever you're harmonizing a melody, intervals of thirds usually sound super, super nice, and same with sixths. They're very pleasant sounding, and I just want to show you what the right hand sounds alone first on the piano. Now I'm just going to play a little bit of the right hand part, and I'm pretty sure you'll recognize the tune once I start playing if you don't think you know it yet. So I'm fairly confident that after hearing the melody, even if you didn't know if you knew the song, you probably know it now. So just a couple other things I want to talk about here is before you put this one hands together, I think it's really important to get acquainted with it hands separately because there's a lot going on in this song. So to just kind of straight up try it hands together right off the bat might not be the best idea, just because you'll have to spend so much extra energy concentrating on two different things at once. And another thing to watch is the counting. So we have lots of eighth notes and lots of overlap. So I'm just going to write in the counting for this bar. So if you remember to count eighth notes, we use and. So we go 1 and 2 and. And then when these eighth notes kick in, it's actually on beat 3. So be really careful because this one's holding for 2 while these left-hand notes go underneath it. This one's holding for 2 while these eighth notes go over top of it. So there's a lot of, just be careful because it's easy to fall into the trap of misaligning notes when you're lining everything up. Another thing I see that happens really commonly with this piece is breaking between the bar lines. So really make sure you don't take any breaths or pauses between the bar lines in this piece. So now let's go through it hands together on the piano. Thank you for watching this video, and as always, the sheet music that we discussed today is linked below, so open the description box and you'll find all that jolly good information. I'm thinking of jolly because I'm still thinking about Brahms looking like Santa Claus. I have like those keywords stuck in my head in this hearty jaunt. Anyway, thank you for watching, and as always, you can subscribe and visit the website pianotv.net. Thank you, and toodaloo. Oh.